Warning! Warning! The following video is intended for educational and entertainment use only. The content will include disturbing images, violent scenarios, and explicit language. This video is intended for 18 plus and older audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
To recap the story of Salvatore Testa's history of the year 1980 is a very complicated one. Now here's a breakdown to what we've already captured of the year 1980. March 21st, 1980, the godfather of Philadelphia, Angelo Bruno, was gunned down in front of his home, creating a whole devastation in the Philadelphia crime family, in which many other members of the crime family begin to fight over the power and to see who will become the new leader and the new dawn. Salvatore Testa's father, Philip Chicken Man Testa, would take the reins of being the new godfather of the city of Philadelphia, which he is positioned by the Genovese family, at which he is appointed officially by Vincent the Chin Gigante, who was the head of the Genovese family. Philip Testa would appoint Fat Pete Casella as his underboss, and Philip Testa will honor his friend Nicodemo, Little Nicky Scarfo, to be the consigliere of the Philadelphia crime family, the counselor. 9 days after Angelo Bruno was gunned down, March 30th, 1980, Salvatore Testa and Nicholas Milano would survive a shooting that occurred at his father's restaurant, Virgilio's. The shooting seemed to be over a parking dispute. Milano was shot on the left-hand side of his body, in the abdomen and in the leg. Testa was hit once in the upper left leg and the groin area. Therefore, this would be one of the many hits that Salvatore Testa would survive in his short years on this earth. Salvatore will also be aware that his own close friends, Philip Crazy Phil Leonetti, Lawrence Yogi Merlino, and Nicky Scarfo, were fighting for their lives in the court for the murder of cement contractor and mob associate Vincent Falcone. And on top of that, Salvatore Testa's mother, Althea Archidiacono Testa, was informed that she has cancer, and in the year 1980 she was informed that she was the victim of terminal cancer. The devastating news will harm Salvatore Testa and his family, and the year was still not over. June 5th, 1980 is where Testa will earn his button. He will be officially made man at the ceremony of Omerta, in which his father will be the leader of that ceremony, according to Philip Leonetti's mafia prince. In that same room, according to Philip Leonetti, Frank the Barracuda Sindone, one of the most notable loan sharks who worked under the Angelo Bruno regime and was associated with Capra Negro, who was said to be not only the man who called the shots of Angelo Bruno's downfall, but also was the supposed gunman that took the life of Angelo Bruno. Rumor has it that Frank Sindone was also part of that conspiracy, and when Nicky Scarfo got word of it, based on other different New Jersey family members such as Ralph Black Napoli and many others getting word about Frank Sindone's associations with Capra Negro and Johnny Key Simone, who will also lose their life after Capra Negro was taken out of the picture. Johnny Key Simone will be taken out next, and therefore Frank the Barracuda Sindone was next on that top of that mob hit list. When Nicky Scarfo and many other people were under Philip Testa's reign, they all had to set up the hit on Frank the Barracuda Sindone according to Vincent the Chin Gigante's orders. Vincent the Chin Gigante had ordered Philip Testa. One of the things that they need him to be as godfather of the city of Philadelphia was that he had to complete the task so those who were involved in the hit of Angelo Bruno were set to be whacked. And since Frank Sindone was the next person on top of that list, after Capra Negro, Simone, and several other associates were now dead, therefore Frank the Barracuda Sindone was next. Now, this is where Salvatore Testa will allegedly become part of that picture. According to Philip Leonetti's mafia prince, he was said that Salvatore Testa will have to play a small role when it came to the hit on Frank the Barracuda Sindone, since he had just become a made man, so therefore Sindone doesn't become too suspicious of him. What he will mainly play will be the driver when it comes to this mob hit sanction. Here's the story of the mob hit on Frank the Barracuda Sindone. and Salvatore Testa took him to a house in South Philadelphia where Frank Monti was waiting inside to see him. The demise. But within the weeks of the not guilty verdict of Vincent Falcone's murder, Little Nicky was back to his murderous ways. Sindone was one of the guys who was involved in the plot to kill Angelo Bruno, and he and Nicky Scarfo hate each other, according to Philip Leonetti's Mafia prints. Leonetti stated that in his book that Sindone was a snake and he couldn't be trusted. Philip Testa agreed, so they set him up. Salvatore Testa took him to a house in South Philadelphia where Frank Monti was waiting inside to see him. When Sindone was shaking hands with Frank Monti, according to Philip Leonetti's Mafia prints, Salvatore Chucky Miller shot Frank Sindone in the back of the head and killed him. Chucky hit him 3 times in the back of his head, and they dumped it in an alley behind a store in South Philadelphia. Phil Testa immediately sent word out that Sindone's entire operation was to be split between his killers, Salvatore Testa, Chucky Merlino, and Frank Monti. Sindone's top lieutenant, Joseph Chicky Ciancaglini, was now aligned with the Testa and Scarfo regime. Ciancaglini, who was now aligned with Testa and Scarfo, will also receive a piece of the action and will oversee that what remained of Sindone's crew. Frank Sindone's corpse was dumped behind a South Philadelphia variety store on October 29, 1980. The store was called G.C. Murphy Store at 2001 Oregon Avenue. The store is blocks away from Sindone's house. We will show you the footage of G.C. Murphy and the newspaper of the Barracuda's death being reported. Here is the footage of G.C. Murphy of what it looks like today at the grocery outlet store. Here's the alley where Frank the Barracuda Sindone's body was found.
Testa did not survive this time.
Police don't have a suspect in the shooting, but they did locate what they believe to be
Sindone's murder had all the marks of a mob execution. He was
police
shot.
say.
It began the night of March 21st when Angelo Bruno, a respected and powerful don in La Cosa Nostra, was shot to death in front of his Snyder Avenue row home while sitting in a car driven by John Stanfa. Stanfa has since disappeared. Then, in rapid succession, the grisly murders of Antonio Caponegro, the Bruno family's North Jersey boss, and his brother-in-law, Alfred Salerno. Both bodies were dumped in the Bronx. Last month, John Simone of Yardley, Pennsylvania, a cousin of Bruno, was shot to death and his body dumped in Staten Island. Now Frank Sindone, a lieutenant who had a record of 100 arrests for illegal lottery and gambling. Sindone lived in the 1800 block of Schley Street in the Packer Park section of Philadelphia. He operated this steak and hoagie shop at 10th and Mensing, but authorities say his major occupation was that of enforcer and loan sharking. Sindone's car was found 2 blocks from where his body was found and was taken to police headquarters where it is being combed for possible clues. As to who is responsible for the 5 murders, members of the Pennsylvania Crime Commission could only speculate.
What you've seen happen recently in the way of homicides probably reflects that unsettled situation in the family.
Who's taking over from your viewpoint?
From our viewpoint, Philip Testa.
Law enforcement officials say Philip Testa was Bruno's #1 man, and now Peter Casella has moved up the crime ladder and is Testa's first lieutenant. According to the Pennsylvania Crime Commission, there have been no gangland-style murders in the Bruno crime family for the past 20 years. However, in the past 7 months, there have been 5. The Crime Commission declined to say who might be the next, but added there probably would be others who, like Frank Sindone, would meet similar ends in similar places like this. Hank Berger, Channel 6 Action News, South Philadelphia.
6 days after Bruno's murder, there was a meeting in North Jersey involving John Stanfa, Albert Salerno, John Sindone, John Simone, Phil Testa, and Antonio Caponegro. 6 weeks later, Caponegro and his brother-in-law, Albert Salerno, were found in Brooklyn in the trunk of a car. On September 20th, John Simone was found shot to death in a vacant field on Staten Island. His car was found in Yardley, Bucks County. On October 30th, the body of John Sindone, Angelo Bruno's loan sharking chief, was found in a plastic bag behind a shopping center at 20th and Oregon in South Philadelphia. On February 20th of this year, the grand jury indictments were handed up against Phil Chicken Man Testa and 9 other alleged mob members. They were charged with racketeering, loan sharking, mail fraud, and illegal gambling. U.S. Attorney Peter Vira said at the time the indictments would seriously hurt mob activity in Philadelphia. But 10 days ago, law enforcement sources told Action News that other mob families had decided that the indicted men were expendable, and there was a chance they would exchange information if the feds would go easy on them. Therefore, the execution of Testa may have been ordered simply as a practical matter. This is Joe Sanchez, Channel 6 Action News.
Days after Bruno's death, several second-level lieutenants gathered to try to divide up the turf left behind. But it wasn't too long after that when more mob-style hits began taking their toll on the feuding factions. Antonio Caponegro and Albert Salerno were both found dead. Their bodies had been stabbed, shot, and mutilated. Another reputed mobster, John Simone, was shot dead. His car was found in Yardley, Bucks County. A month after that, the body of Frank Sindone, allegedly Bruno's loan sharking chief, was found in South Philadelphia. It was less than a month ago that law enforcement officials got in on the act with a sweeping indictment against Testa and 9 of the remaining alleged mobsters.
It could be, but the victim this time was not well known, which seems to make him an unlikely target of either a mob feud or a power play. It has to be stressed that any speculation that this was a mob killing is just speculation. All the police know for sure at this point is that 32-year-old Pietro Incerelli, father of 2, is dead following an execution-style slaying. John Rollins, Channel 6 Action News in Mount Laurel.
Thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel and check out more of our content. Feel free to give your feedback and suggestions on what we should do next in the comments. This is Infinite Lee Productions. We love ya.